A very good morning. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Sammy, this week ako kwa the half-court regime, but he takes everything else fully seriously. But for dressing, half-court iko sawa. Na ameng'ara ni kijana na anapiga kazi ya kupigiwa mfano. Yeah. Well, today, of course, Sunday was Father's Day. Apart from the jokes that we saw online, it just got me thinking about basically raising the next generation, where it comes from, and then also thinking about my personal relationship with my father. Of course, this is a me thing. I don't know if that's what you thought of, because as I was seeing, it talked about two things. I saw a lot of people posting their fathers, and I did as well, but it has become my own policy that I don't post, like, let's say it's your birthday, Bobby, or QT, or CJ. I don't tell you something online, sijawahi kukwambia kwanza. You know, yeah, personally or face to face. Unaweza mtu amekupost online but hujapigia baba yako. But umempost online.
Hata mmoja.
Na hata muongeangi. Yeah, so that's just got me thinking about raising the next generation and also just experiences that we've had in the past with our fathers and how that is molding and shaping us as fathers now. And then, of course, there are those who are probably even watching, and you know you have a baby out there, but you just did the thing that even farmers don't do. You planted the seed and left. That even farmers don't do that. So you're breaking all protocol. Anyway, we'll talk about that in detail today. That's why we're calling today Letters to My Father, things that you want your father to know. And, you know, and also it could be at utengeneza hata relationship yako na Mungu. That could be the father we're talking about today. Yeah, today is wholesome. It's fully wholesome. You want to write something? Gituki is handing me a paper and a pen. All right. Bobby, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Yes.
Happy Father's Day, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Kwa kwenye mtandao. Belated lakini bado inakawani.
Asante. Asante sana.
I hope mko salama.
Tuko safi. Mimi niko safi. I don't know, CJ can...
I'm good.
All right. Yeah, he can...
I feel good, I'm great. Happy for today. Yeah, but leo nataka kuuliza swali instead of me kuuliza swali.
Okay. So ikifika yote ngoja kwanza tufike pale alafu sasa nita wekelea kwanza. All right.
Hiyo swali na yogo.
Hata mimi I'm like, that's why nimeanza na truth just in case.
Sikubaya mjali.
Cute.
Niko salama.
Yeah.
Mkoaje?
Tuko sawa.
Naona mko fiti nyinyi wote.
No, niko sawa.
Acha tungoje transfer window. Unajua transfer window inaweza happen vitu mingi sana.
Naam.
Hata kwa relationships unaweza kuko kwa transfer window bado.
Na ujui.
Yeah. So we have to wait.
Say they have made initial contact. It's just the offer that has not been accepted. Na wewe hujui.
Wewe unaendelea kufikiria uko ndani lakini uko kwa transfer window and you don't know. You're up for some offer but you have no idea.
Yeah, ama unapelekwa on loan.
Ama on loan. Na ujui saa hizo unajua ndio bazoo.
Lakini ukumbuke loan is for a season. Leo tuko na wisdom hapa. Wisdom nuggets. All right. CJ, how are you?
Good.
Yes, you're doing well?
Yes, very well. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I've tagged you on something on Instagram. Have you seen it?
No, today?
Yes, today.
No, I've not seen it.
Okay. When you see it, remember Grace. Because it's about Liverpool. But it's so good. All right, so Bobby, today the first question is from Bobby, so go ahead, take it away.
I wanted to ask you guys, you see when it's, I think we have this discussion every Father's Day where we talk about appreciating dads more and just being present and what it means, besides whether they were present in your life or not, and just reconciling all that in your adulthood right now. So I just wanted to ask you guys, because when I went on Twitter, I saw the comments that were going. Wase wanasema Happy Father's Day, mom, ama wase wengine wana reply waki-counter like leo si Mother's Day, something like that. But I want to ask you guys, why do you think when it's Father's Day, these jokes fly? Or this is the trend of the conversations that go on. On Mother's Day, everyone unanimously, akunanga qualms. Sisi wote who agree, leo ni Mother's Day. We all show up for our moms, whether it's posting them or sending them money. And I saw this discussion on radio yesterday as well. Someone was asking, mbona tunatumianga madhe pesa mob kuliko daddy, ama gifts tunatumia madhe more. ama hata ukitumia mom unamwambia usiambie daddy. You know, so why is it that that's the trend of the conversations that go on specifically on Father's Day? Why is it that that's the sentiments that almost everyone has? It's like, it's Father's Day, but happy Father's Day to my mom, not my dad. Yeah.
All right, so CG, you want to go first or do I?
I think the relationship between children and their mother is unique because there's an umbilical cord attachment. The child having grown in the womb for about 9 months, and then the initial stages, the breastfeeding, the care, the bonding becomes quite very strong. Also, it is very rare for a woman to leave her child. It is possible, some do, but it's very rare. Whereas, on the other hand, it's very easy for a man to feel that once he has paid the bills and is providing, he has done everything that is required as a parent. So sometimes they're not even absent physically. They're present physically, but absent emotionally. You know, when they come in. So the bonding is really not so much. He will come in, sit. In the older days, a father would come, take up the newspaper and read it the whole time. And not be bothered much by what is going on. So you'd find the mother is the one who knows what his children eat, what they wear, how it is at school. They're the ones who are available during the school events. They go with them to church or to the mosque. Okay, well, not to the mosque, but go with them to the church or something. So there's so much involved in the shaping of this life that the kid growing up already feels they owe something to their mother. When they are unwell, she's the one who rushes with them to the hospital. Sometimes you'll find the dad was not there. Maybe he was out with his friends in the night and maybe just sent money or sent a friend and say, go and help them, or sent a neighbor. So it's the level of involvement that has brought us to that place of attachment. If the man got involved a little bit more, maybe it would be different. But again, even with those men, you know, some of them have never really known what it means to be present, because some of these things then are transgenerational. If you grew up and your father was never really there, by the time you start fathering, and I'm talking about emotionally, by the time you start fathering, you think, well, as long as I'm providing, I'm fine. I had a conversation in February. I had this session in Mombasa. We did something we called Fathers and Sons. And then I asked the fathers, I said, I want you to grade yourself between 0 to 10. I want you to grade yourself and tell me how well you're doing as a father. And quite a number of them raised their hands and would, you know, give themselves a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, others 9. So I said, so why would you judge yourself so highly? Nearly every single one of them was like, because I provide, I've paid fees, I take care of the bills. And so I started talking to them about the other things that they are not doing. Yeah. I was doing the same thing. I was out in Nanyuki over the weekend, having a men's conference as well. And it's nearly the same thing, because for men, they feel once the money has been given, they have given everything. So the bond sometimes may not be as strong. And not because the children did not want to, but because there was no investment. Yeah.
I think also, to add on that, also just generally, statistically, according to the Bureau of Statistics, there are more single mothers in Kenya, and that number increased, I think, from 2021 to 2022. They haven't done, I don't know if they've released one in 2023, but as of 2022, there are more single mothers. And so I guess people feel a certain way about, you know, celebrating fathers. Which ones? We don't see them, you know. So, so that's why that conversation happens. And I mean, I just think that it becomes unfair to blanket it, because then there are fathers who are showing up, who are present, who are doing both providing and being there. It's a delicate balance, but providing and being there emotionally as well. So if you say something like Happy Father's Day, Mom, while we appreciate your situation, you can wait for Mother's Day. That's why the day is there. Well, appreciate mama yako hiyo siku. Hata kama yendo, as they say, with the mama, my father and my mother, it's okay. But wacha wale watu wana appreciate baba yao pia wa.
Wako na space.
Yeah, wako na space. Yeah, man. Have we answered your question?
Yes.
I'm glad. All right. So, Cutie.
Yes.
What do you think about that? That part of the thing that CG has mentioned as well is that that thing where if a father provides, or rather, actually, if a man haki provide anaona basi tuko sawa, so I don't need to be there for assignment kwanza na CBA. I don't need to be there for what do you call it, PTA meetings, first recital, acting, sports day, hizo vitu zingine. However, akifanya poa shule, that's my son, that's my boy, that's my girl. Yeah. What do you think about that?
And also just to answer Bobby's question.
Yes.
That joke, you see the joke that is passed, it's because men have made it a joke,
right.
Fathers. Men run away. As we say, they came boy from their responsibilities. They run away. So if you guys make it a joke, everyone is going to joke about it. And the mistake that we do, I think, we glorify single mothers. We glorify being a single mother to be everything. That's why that debate comes up like, oh, happy Mother's Day, happy Father's Day to all the single mothers out there pulling double duty. We have made it like we see them as, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I don't want to talk about single motherhood because that's a very that's a very sensitive topic that I wouldn't want to speak about. But to me glorify single mothers sana, hadi everyone is overlooking the responsible dads, Let me tell you, Willis, there's someone who sits in the house the whole day, a whole month, a whole year. They don't worry about anything because they know, auchali, this guy will provide. Unajua kuna mademo wanakwaga tu wamekaa chini a whole year, 5 years, wamekaa tu, and the man will provide. And I'm telling you, it happens. Like if you really look down into it, kuna wale maboy wenye wanajuanga, unasikia tu boy anapigiwa jioni ni aje, tumedo ya sapa. Every single day, Willis, that call will come. So uchali, whether they have the money or not, lazima atafute means za kuget hiyo do. Ude matai kujua kwenye hiyo do itatoka. Unajua at the end of the day. So we water down the responsible fathers, glorifying the single mothers, because atutaki kuangalia hiyo part ya manze uboy ye uhustle. Uboy ameenda huko nje, amehustle, amefanya Kenya amefanya. Wote kujua do itatoka wapi. But at the end of the day, you need food on the table, you need the rent to be paid. Hata ujui. Sasa hizo demand, you've said, rent enough I come. Hawenye mnaishi hata uboy easy afford, but you have pushed this man to living into a house that he cannot even afford to actually pay for it. But you're just there calling for these demands. Watu ndio hao. Shule nye wanafaa kwenda. Uboy ndio anafaa provide. Na ana provide too. But you don't know what this man goes through every day. So I think this thing of glorifying single mothers and we forget about easy jokes to make, by the way. Let's just let Father's Day be Father's Day, honestly. Tuache tu Father's Day equate for the responsible dads. Going back to your question, the way you're asking, like the fathers are never present. They don't feel like they're there. Yo kitu ilikuanga kitambo. I think nowadays these things have changed. The modern dads, they wake up at night to actually feed the children and do all of that. But kitambo, ile narrative ilikuwa kitambo. Even I think for my dad, like ile tu amesha provide. Si kila kitu iko. Father asubuhi tukiamka, father ndo alikuwa na provide yo fare kwenda shule, bread, shopping. He used to leave money. I'll never forget. My dad used to leave money every morning. Like mimi nilikuwa najuaga father ndo provider. Mother yako hapa, she's doing every other thing. Like ile of course ukitaka kulala kwa kiti unaenda unalala na mother. Mother ndo atakubeba kupeleke kwa bed. Hii bond iko hapa ni mother. But ukiangalia vizuri pale ile story ya do financial. So when the father provides, yana feel si mimi nimeprovide kila kitu. Mimi nimesha pues. So kama nimepoes, mimi niko sawa, you see. And that's a narrative that we've grown with, but I am glad this other generation is changing that narrative. Saizi utacheki madam Father's Day watasema thank you for waking up in all those nights, for giving me that 10 minutes to actually go and sleep, something that fathers wa kitambo wako wana understand hizi vitu. But right now fathers wa saizi sijui nani anawafunza, but they're getting there, something is right now in this generation. Na sisemi ati mabuda wetu wako poa. Me actually, my dad is my best friend. Hata kama hatukuwa na hiyo ati bonde yenye ilikuwa gapa and all that, but my dad is my best friend. Like I feel like I can talk to my dad about anything, like relationships, boys. But my mom would just maybe hear it on TV, like niko na mtu madhi akiwatch atasikia niko na mtu, but my dad mama cutie uko na mtu. But my dad would be like on top, because I have those hard conversations with my dad. Like I ask him the hard questions, but With my mom, it's more of tumebond, yes, but I'm tight with my dad, you see. And we get to overlook all of that. But I'm so glad, Willis, that the men are changing. This generation is changing. You're actually taking the kids to clinic. Mi naeza kaa home, unaweza peleka mtoi clinic, by then nimetulia, you can come, nipate uko jikoni, unanipikia. And not because you're less of a man. Unajua hivyo ndo tumegrowiwa kufikiria ati, boys amekaliwa, you're going to the kitchen to cook. How do you cook? You're actually helping this woman to do ABCD. You're less of a man. I'm very sure nowadays men post that on social media, but kitambo, they used to hide all those things. No man would go to the counter and talk to the men and say, hey, jana, by the way, mi ndo nilikuwa on duty with the kids. You don't want to talk about that with the boys. Unataka kujifanya vile we ni gangster pale. Umefika home, umelala, hata mtu akilia. Unajua? And I love the way men sacrifice more nowadays. There's that bond between the men and the kids, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Right, I want to ask you a follow-up question before I go to anything else, because so for you, you had that father who would basically just, provide. But now you're closer to him. What happened between that transition of bond with mom, then boom, Nikosa and dad? Did you deliberately work on this relationship, or how did that happen? If you don't mind, of course.
I deliberately worked on it because I'd say my mom is a single mom because dad walked away when I was in class 6. Okay. But I chose not to concentrate on that. You see, Willis, that's the mistake that we do. Because kuna hizi wrangles zina happen between parents, And then you decide to carry those issues. And those are not your issues. You want to carry dad and mom's issues. But why do you want to carry other people's burdens? It's like taking medicine for someone's headache. Why do you want to do that? And I know it doesn't sit well with people. But for me, I thought if dad has left, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't be close to dad. And then relationship yenye nilikuwa nayo na dad, I think your time nikiwa mdogo. My dad is the one who used to take me to school all the time. I don't know why that used to happen, but hiyo ndo niko na memory yao. Yangu na dad. But when he walked away, he didn't necessarily walk away like completely. Kulikuwa na hiyo bond ya, you can still talk to your dad, you can still, like bado mko tight na budako, unajua, but kama ninge decide kubeba hizo issues ni decide, I'm mad at my dad. Okay, my dad left, I don't have that relationship with my dad and all that, Saizi singekuwa naongea naye, na fault ingekuwa yana, ningekuwa yangu, mimi ningekaa ni blame. Madhe niseme, okay, madhe alikosana na dad alikosana na mama. But I took that initiative and decided to sit down with dad and ask him, okay, so why did you do this? Mom had her story, but I also had to hear about dad's part of the story. And once you come to understand what men go through, pia wako na stories zao, because if you choose to become bitter to a certain parent because they did something, then you're carrying a generational problem. Because you'll find most people don't talk to their parents because wali separate. Why do you want to do that, Willis? Go sit down with the parent that left. It could be the mom. Sometimes even the moms leave. Go talk to the dad, go talk to the mom, the person that left. Hear their side of the story. I know it doesn't sit well with the parent, especially mwenye alibaki, because kuna kuangana hiyo bitterness, but it's your decision and it's going to affect you for the rest of your life, So for me, I decided to take that upon myself and I said, you know what? At the end of the day, this is my dad. I need to keep this relationship with my dad. I need to really know what really happened, Now after we understand this, even men are fighting their own demons. Because we decide how to forgive, sometimes it's too late to actually ask for that forgiveness. Unapata, God forbid, the parent passes away, but how could stand up to them and ask them, by the way, why did you really do that? And when you sit down with that parent, you come to understand, by the way, this is what happened. It could be dad's fault, yes, but he's still your dad at the end of the day, and that issue is not your issue. So me nilikuwa intentional about my relationship with my dad, and we are best of friends. Even today, mi hakuna time ati tushai separate na budangu, like ati hatujai ongeleshana. I'm like, I need to be friends with my dad. I need to be tight with my dad. And it's a beautiful relationship, Willis.
Wow. Wow, wonderful. Good stuff. All right, and thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the question of the day. This is what we ask you today. It's a blank check. It's an opportunity for you. Let's go ahead and check it out. The question of the day. What would you like your father to know about how you feel? There you go. What would you like your father to know about how you feel about them, how you feel about how they handle issues? What would you like them to know? You can go ahead and SMS us on 22422. And then you can also use the hashtag Daybreak. Ambia baba yako something. kitu about what you'd like them to know. All right. Bobby, so again, the reason why I asked that question is because, you know, we know, if you've been watching the show, you know Bobby's catches communication. Talk, communicate.
Yeah.
So now there is a young man who's watching, probably, I don't know, let's say a man who's watching, and they, because the thing about it is sometimes people say that sometimes watching your parents can either give you an example of what to be, or what not to be as well. So if somebody's watching and they probably have some qualms about, you know, what their father did to them or how they were raised, and the father is still there, and maybe some of these things are, you realize they're affecting how now you're raising your sons, probably you're lashing out or there's something you're projecting. How do you mend that whole thing in terms of, you know, your keyword, communication?
Because I know my dads are watching. Please, msikach. Let me be honest. You see, because I have to be honest so that someone who's watching feels like, oh, if, you know, she knows what she's talking about because she relates, then that's her reality. So some of us grew up in situations where our moms did everything, and that's just the truth, whether our dads were present or not. And it wasn't, because our moms didn't badmouth our dads, so it wasn't a situation, let me just speak for myself. Wacha nisionge ka third party. My mom never once badmouthed my dad, saying, you know, he doesn't do this, he doesn't show up. Something she did was show up fully and then let us see for ourselves. Right. She let us make decisions for ourselves. Whether you want to be closer to daddy, that's cool. Whether you feel like you need space away from him, that's cool. But my mom never tried to show that, you know, she's the dad and the mom or anything. She left that space for us to try and decide. And what this did for me as someone who grew up with my dad being not present emotionally, and some of these situations, our dads didn't even provide financially. It's our moms who paid for everything, showed up emotionally. Like these days, my mom came from surgery, but she still came to my meetings at school. So that's like when I talk about a parent, that's who I see. It's not that I don't like my dad or I don't care for him, but it's just way natural for me to feel a bit more inclined towards showering my mom with gifts and affirmations. And I know, like what QT was talking about, relationships take a lot of deliberation. Like, you have to be intentional. But something I want to point out also is that it should come from the parent. Don't ever feel like it's your responsibility as a child to go and start mending relationships. These people were there before you. They have much more experience, meaning they have to take intention themselves and push themselves towards you. Because if you start doing these things and then you get rejected, it takes you back to your childhood traumas where your parents rejected you all their lives when you were a kid. Now you're an adult trying to fix things and they're still rejecting you. What that does is it affects all your relationships very negatively. I'm not saying don't reach out. I'm saying have a mindset where you know that when you become an adult, it's you become very responsible. And these are your parents who have been adults for a while. Well, labda umekuwa an adult 10 years ago. 15 years ago. Bado we ni mchanga kwa game. Amekuwa hapa for about 40 years in the game, like wako in their 60s. So
40 years in the game.
Of being parents, right, being adults. So you have to understand that as a child, it's okay for you to take your position as a child and to need that validation and love from your parents. And it's okay for you to communicate these feelings, but it's a bit better if you find a way to help your parents find the education where they can be able to teach themselves to communicate and be deliberate. I say this because it's exactly what I did with my parents. I didn't go and start telling my mom, Mom, you know, tulikosana. No, I just created a space where she was able to come to me herself. She was able to come, and this is for my dad as well. Where he's just able to come to me and say, yo, you know I messed up, but can we, or even I notice in his, like Father's Day, sikukuwa nimemwambia Happy Father's Day the whole day. Tumeka tu kwa keja na nilikuwa tu nae, but it wasn't ati intentional ati simwambii ndio ajue. It wasn't anything like that. I think times tu zilipita, nilikuwa busy. But I told him in the evening, and I saw the way he reacted, like he was yearning for it, like he just wanted to hear those words. And what it taught me is that people change, people grow. We're all human beings. We need love, we need validation. Doesn't matter whether you're 55 or 33. Everyone needs that love. And our say up wazazi wetu waligrow at a time where they weren't necessarily really getting the emotional support that they needed from their parents. Their parents were raised by wase walikuwa hizo colonial times. So it was a bit difficult for them to show up emotionally. That's why maybe they felt like when they pay bills, it's enough. But you see, someone like me, my mom paid bills and did everything else. So it doesn't come as an excuse for me. That's why sometimes I feel like tuna praise mtu for vitu anafa. Like hizo ni vitu normal as a parent. Hizo ni vitu kawaida unafaa.
Hiyo ni the model of Swale Mdoe. Usipige makofi kwa mtu ambaye anafanya kazi.
Yeah, like being a parent is your job. When you're a parent, you're supposed to be cleaning with the kid. You're supposed to know their allergies. You're supposed to know your kid's best friends. We can say, you know, the man is a provider, the woman is the natural. But how come the women show up in all ways? They pay the bills and they still show up emotionally. So instead of ever comparing it or making it like ni fight, like I think we need to start having conversations around like praising, not really praising, but like appreciating the men who are making these changes right now, and without diminishing either side, without making it look like, you know, these moms, they can, for some of us, and yeah, for real, our moms like wali show up evil. And yes, it's Father's Day, but some people went through abuse. And something I'm noticing that's very common, it's like almost everyone was traumatized by their dad. Almost everyone. Either our dads left, they weren't present, we don't have a relationship with them. And it's something I'm always joking about. Ukikaa chini hivi na crowd, hata ya 10 people, mwanze kupiga story, utarealize hapo kila mtu ana baba. Either Buddha alishia ama Buddha alijitoa. Ni joke ama inakaa funny, but we have daddy issues because of these things. That's why the men right now do not, like CJ is always saying, the boys right now need a lot of direction and they need to see men showing up so that it's easier for them as well. But instead, tunaenda sides za jokes ama tunaenda sides za kulenga. So how about, while we appreciate the dads who show up, and we tell you guys, we see you, I see you, Elise, you show up like, you know, the appreciation is good because at the end of the day, these dads need to feel seen. Everyone needs love, everyone needs to feel validated and appreciated. Let's also encourage them to come up more and to also surround themselves more with men who are similar, so that wewe kama daddy Willis ukimove, mabeshte zako wote wanaweza kuona, hizi vitu Willis anadu, acha pia mimi nifanye. Isikuwe ni wewe kwa squad peke yake,
ndio mimi nafanya.
Show up. Yo ikwe generation, all the dads are very reliable. Like the dads are starting to become reliable. And yes, we notice the financial support that you give the families. I promise, we notice. We're not trying to degrade you for not showing up emotionally, but I'm just saying our moms have done it all. So tusikuwe na excuses ati, you know, nikiwa out, nalipa bills, nafanya nini. Just be present, because kids don't remember the things you bought for them as much as they remember how you made them feel growing up. And that's why mtu hata kama mimi nilika the whole day, wish budangu Father's Day. Si kitu niko proud of. I wish I woke up that day and made breakfast and bought him gifts. But to be honest, in my head, what I was thinking, nabaya mamangu nini next? And those are not thoughts that I'm doing out of, I hate my dad. It's just the bond isn't the way it is with my mom. I'd like for those things to change, and I'd like for us to take more responsibility, especially as parents, to make sure that our kids know that we were there for them, so that our kids know that we're very present for them. Instead of fighting mami ufanye na dad ufanye, let's just deliberately take action, especially as dads, and be reliable. Ndo isikue, sazile ni Father's Day, it's an ongoing joke globally. Like tweets zote za majuu za South Africa, za wapi. All the tweets were about, you know, why should I wish my dad? Ama nini. Yes, kulikuwa na wase walikuwa wana appreciate baba zao, but the trend is like that. And on Mother's Day, it doesn't really happen. We all have a unanimous feeling of our moms are angels, they were perfect. Whether our moms were lituchapa or what, there's this mutual understanding that our moms showed up in every way that they should have. So I'd like for men to feel more encouraged. I know it's not easy, but you guys have to break this stigma yourselves because you have to lead. You can't wait for when it's Father's Day and then you start getting pissed that people are not celebrating you as much. But all of us have stories about how our dads didn't show up for us. Everyone, whether you ask your boss, your sister, a stranger kwa barabara, they'll tell you something about how their dads weren't really there. So let's change that as men so that it becomes easier for us to appreciate. Venye QT alikuwa anasema, ikianza kwenu inakuwa rahisi sana for us to follow suit and understand better.
All right, I'm smiling because Shatta has sent a text. Shatta boy, aka Shatta Mauda. I'm saying it's not that men are not emotionally available. We are just raising non-appreciative, over-entitled children. And it all boils down to their mothers. It is their mother's duty to tell them, I care. Kama niko busy out there in a search. Men are the victims here. That is Shatta boy. All right, CJ, your rebuttal. And also as you do that, I think also there is something I was thinking about, and I think Roberta mentioned it. So you have a father, of course, my father and Bobby's father, they are from probably a different time, right? So you want to communicate to them these certain needs as you also create that space because they are modelia. Okay, see, did you not go to school, young man? Are you not now doing things? Did you not? Do you have clothes on your body, roof over your head, light in your room? So you're trying to communicate to them now because sometimes you grow up and realize, wait a minute, I missed something. And sometimes now they are way older themselves. How do you do that? How do you do the proverbial teacher old dog new tricks?
Well, you know, listening to Roberta and QT, there's something that then we have to appreciate as well. For example, with what QT called the new generation dads, that the presence of their mothers lives made them appreciate the women in their lives. So what you are seeing in terms of them trying to be present more is actually an appreciation of their feminine energy, that they saw their mothers do so much that they have a certain respect for women. So even when they get wives or they get girlfriends, there's a certain respect. That's the sacred thing that comes even with Mother's Day, that this person has been nearly a god to you, and everything that they represent then becomes a sacred thing. So it will be men actually showing up for their mothers through their wives and their girlfriends because they're trying not to have these women go the direction that their own mothers did. It's an appreciation. You've lived with this person. You've seen the burden that they carry. You've seen the weight that is on them. And then you'd want to lift it from somebody else. So it still comes back to that there is a way that attachment then to their mothers has affected this men today, which of course has its flip side, because then now you hear so much about men who are soft, who are very soft, because they've been feminized. And I'm trying to avoid using those kind of words, but it looks like they've been feminized. But it's just an appreciation that if my mother was like this, and probably in the entire community that they grew up in, whether it was an estate or something, they saw the same. Going around, they saw it was mothers who were showing up. So when he has that appreciation and that value for the woman, then he most probably will carry that as well into his own family. Not to mean that the fathers are not supposed to be there. This whole thing comes up because we have dysfunctional homes. If both were there, then we would have the balance. We would have the balance and know how much masculine energy I need and how much feminine energy I need. But in the absence of one energy is going to be more pronounced than the other. So again, we will create another dysfunction as well.
Right.
But to come back to what you're asking about, how do you come to this, to these parents? I love what Roberta talked about when children are trying to look for their parents. It's not an easy thing. I used to encourage that before, but having dealt with so many cases, sometimes nowadays I don't. I sit back because you see how sometimes a child will go to a parent hoping that the parent has changed. The parent is now ready to receive them. The parent is now, or a dad is now ready to have a relationship. Then they begin relating. And in a short while, they realize this thing is transactional. The man allows you back to his life because now he's not doing well financially. He has addictions to take care of. He has a family that he's struggling to raise somewhere else, or the children in the family he went into are crackheads, so you're the only one that he sees. And then he only sees what he can get from you. And the wound becomes...
Damn, you went right in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's true. And now the wound becomes worse because you came for a relationship and you realize it's not a relationship this person is looking for. They're actually taking advantage of the fact that you feel there is a bond between you and them. And so now, anytime they're in trouble, they call you. But they'll never really build a relationship with you. And you begin feeling very bad that they're just taking advantage of you. It's all what they need. They're always in trouble. You're bailing them out. They owe somebody somewhere. There's this case somewhere. Their child, your step brother or sister is out of school. So please send something. And you realize you're not even building a relationship anymore. You're having transactions. And now there are a lot of people who are getting more hurt in their adulthood than they were in their childhood. Because in the childhood, they still had this idea of a perfect dad, an ideal. But then when they grow up, they actually meet the reality that this guy is not a hero that you had in your mind. So if the father is not willing to change, calm down, mend fences, amend his ways, that child will still get hurt. And it will be a crazy thing. They'll still get hurt. So I feel it's going to be a two-way. And you see, even without me starting the conversations, even these parents are living in a day that is changing. They should be very aware that the different generations are related with differently. So they should take initiative by themselves. Yes. I don't need anybody to tell me that the generation of my children is different from mine. Yeah. I observe it.
Yeah.
I see it, I observe it, I interact with them. So I've got to start learning, asking myself, how do they relate? You know, the things that would be said to us and we would feel that's normal, we can't say to them. You know, people would criticize you in the hope that that is motivation for you to do better. You can't do that right now.
Yeah.
So I've got to be observant as well and see, hey, that's a very different generation. How am I going to relate with this people? And then I will also look at the people who are in my generation and age who have a better relationship with their children. I should be learning from that and asking myself, what is this person doing with the kids? Maybe that's what I did not do. And begin to mend that as well. So we can't put the whole responsibility on the children because they're the ones who are very vulnerable in this case. If I am in my 70s, 80s, 60s, I've lived life. What is there to lose if I humble myself and come and say, I'm sorry? I mean, how many years do I have to live?
Yeah.
What's the pride of, you know, I'm not going to do that because I'm a man? You're losing everything. You're about to check out. What's so hard in coming back and saying, look, people, I've seen that I wasn't there for you, or I did not treat you well. I was absent. I was non-responsive. I should have done things better. I'm glad that you have become the people you have become, whether it was your mother who made you or your siblings, because some people were actually raised by their siblings. Yeah. Whichever the case, and say, I'm proud of whom you have become. You don't owe me anything. I'm just happy to see that you people have grown and become whom you have become. And just know I am here in case you want to talk. At any one point, I'm willing to share my mistakes and also to share some wisdom. See, let them handle that thing for a while. Let them process it and see whether you're real or not. Let them deal with it, the bitterness, the anger, and all of it. Then they begin now to come back and have communication with you. But if we say, let the kids be the ones who do the work, it's going to hurt them more.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm told there's some feedback. Let's take a look at some feedback here as we continue to learn. Let's see what you all are saying on the feedback spectrum. And then also, oh, look, it's translucent. I can still be seen. Oh, okay, now I'm not seen. All right, it says, I don't disagree, but what about the case where you personally love your father, but anaona like you don't have to wish him Happy Father's Day. Na hata hana hiyo furaha. So he's not receiving. Eva says, for me, Manze, I would like my dad to know how bad I feel when they sometimes disagree with mom, but bado nampenda. I mean, ye bado ni Buddha ya mine, Buddha yangu. Teve Webby from Nyakach. I always want my dad to know how I feel, like what it's like to be a dad, not only a father. A dad, not only a father. All right. I would wish my dad to know that I really love him. He has always taught me to be myself and stand up tall despite the challenges. He is my mentor, and I'll always cherish him. Pastor Chris says, I do everything in my house, and whenever I sit down to bond with my family, my wife blows it away by telling me we can't eat love. What happened in the modern society? We will continue sacrificing even in the absence of appreciation. The pastor, Chris, namesake, QT, take 2 kwa bili yangu. Umebonga poa maze. There are many responsible fathers out there. Chris kutoka Mombasa anasema chukua 2 basi. Kwa jina yake. Men are just there by name, but in real life they are absent. It's so sad that you have to remind your partner to wish you a Father's Day, a birthday, or any other occasion. Then Jimmy from Gong. I agree that many men at times run away from responsibilities as a father. So different scenarios there. Someone says that I'd like my dad to know that even if you disagree sana, but wewe ni baba yangu. Mwingine who is not wished. Pastor Chris anasema yeye amefanya kazi, sasa ni time ya kubonda. Anaambia hatuwezi kula mapenzi. Cute, hiyo unaonaje? Unajua,
from all this feedback that we've seen,
yeah,
we see damaged men, and we see that kuna gap between relationship between children and their fathers, as much as we don't want to admit. Hiyo ni kitu imekuanga. Unaona vile Roberta alisema ukibonga na mabeste wako, hata mimi nikiwa high school tukibonga na mabeste, ulikuwa unasikia tu story ya budangu amefanya, budangu ayuko, budangu, and all I can say is that men are so damaged, not set in fault yao, but we need to appreciate men. We need to show them love. Kama mtu wako amejituma na anakuappreciate na anakufanyanga hizo vitu zote, imagine it only takes just appreciation kufanya huo mwanaume feel like he's actually doing something, you know, at the end of the day. And if you don't appreciate this man, manzi, wataishi. Kuna mtu alisema jana Sunday ya kuishio Happy Father's Day na inauma. Umecheki hata hapo wanasema hivyo,
hata birthday.
It's just we assume that these men are okay if we don't do all those things for them, but sisi ikifika Mother's Day, ikifika birthday, tunataka wajitume na wafanye kila kitu. Unasipofanya unajam. Put yourself in that man's shoes. Just appreciate the men that stand up and step up to do all those things. Tukianza ku appreciate ama boy child, generations and times are changing, so if we appreciate them more. Unaona Shata anasema yeye anataka mama ya watoto waambie.
But you know what I like though, speaking in Shata's defense, what I like though is also the fact that and Bobby said it, and it's not really, I don't want to say it's a good thing to do, but I think it's a responsible thing to do, because Bobby's mom, and we are only mentioning because she told us a story, had every chance to tell Bobby, baba yako na secret tu. Yuko bana hafanyi nini. But alisema let Bobby have the relationship and find out these things for herself, and
yes,
let me not be the one who tells Bobby how to live. So there's that element. I think that while the pressure the duty doesn't completely fall to the mother, but they are very key in shaping that narrative. Whether so, mbona dada hajakuja leo? It could be that enyewe
ako hustle. Kweli ako hustle.
Enyewe si ati hakuji kwa sababu like hiyo ni vitu ya mama. It's just genuinely maybe ako hustle. Maybe ako kwa conference kama CJ. But I'm not saying CJ misses. Maybe ako conference. Ama ako job.
Yeah.
You know, and now say no, he's out there doing ABC. And
even through the children, you can actually teach the children to wish the dad Happy Father's Day. And with that, you'll see that kama una filio ni ngumu, funza tu watoi. Buy the gifts, give the kids, let the kids appreciate the dad, and also give the dad. Kweli, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to throw a flip side.
Right.
I want to throw a flip side because there are also mothers who know how damaging those men can be to the kids.
Yes.
Some of those men are actually self-sabotaging. Like they're hurting their own selves with their own decisions. And she may know that if this kid hangs around the dad, this kid will be damaged. But then she wouldn't know how to say that as well. So even as we say, you know, mothers should be telling the kids, your dad is a hero, don't create an image that eventually will
be shattered.
Right. This kid.
Yeah. All right. Well, nimesikia muziki hapo kumaanisha kwamba it's that time. However, pia Shatta amesema watu pia waanze kuambia
Shatta should come and talk.
Hajasema watoto.
Hakuja ongelea hapa, acha kukutext akuja hapa. Akuja hapa ongea mbona?
Shatta nimejaribu. Wamesema umoka like. All right, anyway. Asante sana. Make sure you follow Shatta at Shatta TikTok. Make sure you follow also Roberta Bobby, and also follow loveandorgasms.com. Listen to the podcast as well. Cutie
Lady Josh.
Yes, Lady Josh. Yes, very good. Cutie Lady Josh on the Instagrams, and also umsikize na huyo Shatta mwenye anatajwa hapa. Wako na show every weekday 10 to 1 Radio Citizen Radio number 1. Very good. Hapo sawa. Alafu pia make sure you follow CJ at CJ Atemo all platforms. Umesikia anafanya makonferensi, umesikia ako na vitabu. Wekelea hapo. Pues na pia anaweza wa guide, lakini amesema kama wewe ni mtoto usiende kwa mzae sana. Ujaribu but usiende sana. All right. Well, I'd like to celebrate again all fathers who are doing the thing. All those who are not doing the thing, please, you still have some time to mend fences. Like CJ said, whether you're 15, 30, or 70, you can go back and say sorry. I would like to really appreciate my dad, because growing up, one of the things I had him say to my mom was kiss her and say I love you and say I'm sorry. I think for me the most powerful was I'm sorry, because I realized, wow, huyu na vile anaogopa anaweza ambia mtu pole. So that was a lesson for me, and of course teaching me about the word of God. Very important. All right. Timo is there waving that he's a father. Happy Father's Day, Timo Tunga. Kwa wale wote umewatunga. Hapo sawa. Peace and love. Mungu awabariki sana.